Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Moms on a Mission podcast. It's great to have all of you here today. This conversation I just had is so incredibly important. You know, we all see the radical left pumping their propaganda and ideology into our children, if it's in the government schools or even in other schools as well. And we're just seeing this attack, and it's really coming through an information war. And that's what is happening right now. And we even see Saul Alinsky talking about, you know, controlling the language. Way back in the 70s, he talked about that and how important it is to control the language. You really can control behavior. And so this is why I think it's so important to learn about groups that are trying to educate our children the truth. You know, when I had Dr. Ben Carson on the other day, he talked about his Little Patriots program. Today, I have on Dr. Rick Farmer and Maddison Farris, and they're part of a think tank in Oklahoma called OCPA, Oklahoma Council of Public Affairs. But what they have done is they've created a program called the J. Rufus Fears Fellowship Program. Dr. J. Rufus was an amazing historian, Harvard graduate, and they named it after him because he was such a phenomenal storyteller and historian. And that is what this program is all about, to train up the next generation. And I just thought this story was incredibly fascinating. Their work they're doing is so important, because that's how you subvert nations. When you look at China with the Red Guard, you look at Germany with the brown shirts, you look at the Bolsheviks and the Soviet Union, they captured the youth as well. And that is how you subvert a country. And so we are in our own cultural revolution here in the United States. So I just believe it is so incredibly important to learn about these programs. And even if we're not going to utilize them, it's for ages 18 to 35, but we can learn about these programs so we can tell others about it. And it's just so incredible what they're doing to train up this next generation. But before Dr. Farmer and Maddison join us, I wanted to talk about ways that we can protect ourselves. You know, we are in a war that is attacking our health and our wealth, and specifically our health. You know, you can just listen to the news for 5 minutes and you see, oh my goodness, there's the bird flu, there's Mpox, and up in Massachusetts, they have a voluntary curfew now for mosquitoes. And I just, you know, there's a mosquito virus going around. And so there is an attack on our health. And there are two things we can do. You've heard me talk about the wellness company and the kits that they offer to have those medications on hand. But what we also need to do is build a strong immune system. And so I highly recommend today you go to DrStellaMD.com. The link is also below the show, and grab this Covey Light. This is the orange flavor. I believe they have a new one. I believe it's a mango and banana, if I'm not mistaken. And then these Covey Vites. My son takes this. I take these. And these are filled with immune boosting products. Zinc, quercetin. Dr. Stella says that you have to take quercetin to open up the cell for it to receive the zinc. But that is how you build a strong immune system. So if you have the medications in your cabinet, but then you take this every single day, it helps you fight whatever is thrown our way. And obviously getting good rest, washing your hands, all of those things that we know to do to protect ourselves. But having a strong immune system is so critical. And sleep, and then these two items, Covey Light and Covey Vites. And the Covey Light says it's cardio, brain, energy, and immune support. Electrolyte, hydrate while reducing brain fog and gain energy. And then the Covey Vites is enhanced immune support, quercetin, zinc, vitamin D, and vitamin C. So just grab the link below the show under affiliates, or you can go to DrStellaMD.com. Use the code MISSION and you'll save 5%. That's code MISSION. You'll save 5%. But most importantly, you're going to be protecting your body and really your family. I mean, it's so important that we have a strong immune system right now. And when you're supporting your family, you're also supporting the Moms on a Mission podcast. So it's a win-win, and we really appreciate that. So just grab the link below the show or go to DrStellaMD.com and use the code MISSION. And then we'd be so honored if you followed us on Rumble. We're on many platforms, but we could upload all of our content there. So just download the Rumble app, type in Moms on a Mission at the top, and click the follow icon, and you'll never miss a show. And then follow us on social media. Instagram, we are Moms on a Mission 918. And on X, we are Moms on Mission. Okay. So now please welcome to the show, Dr. Rick Farmer and Maddison Farris. Dr. Rick Farmer and Maddison Farris, thank you for joining me today on the Moms on a Mission podcast. It's such an honor to have you both here today.
Hello.
So for those who may not know you, I would love for you to briefly just share a little bit about who you are and your relationship with OCPA and what OCPA even is.
Okay, so I guess I'll start. I'm Dr. Rick Farmer, and I earned a PhD in political science at the University of Oklahoma. I earned tenure teaching political science at the University of Akron, and I have a Lifetime Achievement Award in political science from the Oklahoma Political Science Association. I also worked in state government for a number of years, and when OCPA decided they wanted to start their leadership program, they asked me to come and help kick it off and get it going.
And just for those, just sorry to interject here, but for those who are listening aren't familiar, there are a lot of listeners outside of Oklahoma. So OCPA, can you just explain that super briefly what that is?
So it's the Oklahoma Council of Public Affairs, and we are a conservative think tank. We work on policy ideas for Oklahoma and discuss those things with legislators at the Capitol.
Okay. Maddison?
My name is Maddison Farris. I'm a recent graduate from Oklahoma State University. Go Pokes. I earned my bachelor's degree in political science, and while I was at OSU, I was the editor-in-chief of the OSU student newspaper, the Ocali, and I wrote a conservative opinion column, which lost me my job, and OCPA stepped in and covered the story, which led to national media coverage. So a spin in the national news cycle for me. And I spent time on Governor Stitt's reelection campaign and in his official office. And then I was, honored at the opportunity to come and work for the organization that really stepped in when I needed it the most and continue to advance freedom and good policies in Oklahoma.
Wow, that is so amazing. And that's what I love about OCPA. And I know other states have organizations like this, but I mean, can you imagine, Maddison, dealing with that on your own? I mean, that just is so overwhelming and just wrong, quite frankly. So what an interesting part of your story. Well, I have you both on here today to talk about a unique program, and I'm sure there are possibly other programs like this nationally, but I've talked with other conservatives about the fact that the radical left seems incredibly engaged. They seem incredibly aligned, just like this systemic machine that is, not going in different directions, but very, very organized. And I think we would be kidding ourselves to think that they're not educating and educating their youth to help propagate their ideology. And I think conservatives maybe don't know what they don't know, and they don't really know how to maybe get engaged or how to start training the youth other than sending them off to college. And if you're not firmly rooted, you can get captured by radical left ideology, even in state schools in a conservative state like Oklahoma. I say conservative with quotes because that's something we have to work towards. But I wanted to have y'all on here today to talk about this Fierce Fellowship program. I was new to hearing about this. I've lived in Oklahoma since '87, and I learned about it recently within the last year. And I thought, this would really be great for not just Oklahomans to hear about this, but just nationally and even internationally. Maybe folks can learn what the Fierce Fellowship program is doing, and maybe they could start something, like this in their area. So I'd love for you all to just introduce and tell folks, what is the Fierce Fellowship program?
So basically the idea of the J. Rufus Fierce Fellowship is to help young conservative leaning future leaders to have a greater understanding of what does it mean to be a conservative. And we try to bring them kind of a broad-based variety of ways to think about and understand what it means to be a conservative. So if you think about it, kids grow up around their kitchen table, maybe their mom and dad's, watch the news, chat about what they saw in the news. I think, oh, we're conservatives, maybe we're Republicans, but they don't really know what that means. And so we're trying to give them a foundation and a basis for understanding so that, one, they can communicate that better, also so that they can apply that to things in the future that maybe at this point we haven't even thought about. Like when you colonize Mars, what kind of government do you want to set up? And so we want them to have a firm understanding of of what it means to be a conservative. But we're not trying to say this is what it means to be a conservative. We actually are taking the approach of having a libertarian come and speak to them. We have a populist come and speak to them. We have a professor in philosophy who speaks to them, a professor in economics who speaks to them. So they get kind of a broad range of the conservative spectrum, and they can kind of figure out where they are in that place. Maddison was one of our superstar Fierce Fellows, and she is now in charge of our Fierce Fellowship Alumni Association.
Wow. Well, and so were you seeing that kids were going to school and even college and coming out and lacking something, and they didn't naturally have these things that you're so intentionally teaching that it's not being taught in schools and colleges today? And so you're kind of filling in the gap, so to speak?
Yes. So one of our young employees here at OCPA said, I have a master's degree from an Oklahoma university, not the Oklahoma University, but from an Oklahoma university. And no one ever told me any of these things. We've also talked to people who graduated from law school. We've had several attorneys who've done the Fierce Fellowship, and they say, oh, they don't ever really talk about this kind of stuff in law school. But I think Maddison's experience at a couple of universities, she might be able to talk to us a little bit about what the gaps are.
Yeah, I definitely, and I didn't get to mention it earlier, but I do facilitate making sure all of our alumni stay together and stay engaged. And the Fierce Fellowship has a very impressive amount of alumni engagement with regular events and things like that. So I like to head up maintaining those relationships and, watching the experience that they had with the fellowship kind of either launch them into their careers or launch them further into the political space. And that's been really fun to watch. As a recent college grad and someone who definitely had, a tough experience when it came to the political agenda at Oklahoma State University, I can tell you that there are definitely gaps in education. I learned more from the Fierce Fellowship in, a few months than I did for 4 years or 3 years at a state institution. And it's just mind baffling to me, and I majored in political science. And so you would think that I would have walked away with a lot more knowledge. I learned, some basic government inner workings, but I didn't understand political thinking and political ideology the right way until I went through the Fierce Fellowship. And on what kind of natural path of life does a college student get in a room with up to 20 other kids around their age and talk about these issues that we're dealing with every day? And the thing that I hear the most from fellows once they complete the program is they say, I can't believe that there's this many people out here that have the same questions and think the same way I do. Because most of them, when they walk in the room, they feel like I did. They feel like they were alone. They were shunned by their entire university like I was, or they just don't have anyone in their friend group that's willing to dive into these hard topics. And so it's really awesome to see them all in a room, up to 30 people, I think we've had in a fellowship before, just talking about hard topics that, we deal with every day just as people, not necessarily conservatives, but we talk about how to deal with it from a conservative perspective, what it means and what it looks like to change people's hearts and minds with good policies.
And so this is for age 18 through 35. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're a little flexible about that. So we've had a handful of people who are 40-ish who've done the program, and we've had probably 8 high school students maybe who've done the program. In fact, we have 2 high school students already signed up for our next group that'll be starting in February.
So what is the specific goal then? Is it obviously to educate and fill in the gaps, or maybe even correct wrong history, whitewash history, maybe, but also what is the goal? Like once the youth, the 18 to 35 roughly, once they're educated, what are you hoping that they do now after they receive this phenomenal education that they missed out on in high school and college?
Well, we know that most of the young people that come to us are already well on their way to doing great things. And so we're looking forward to them leading in our community. And of course, they could lead in a lot of different ways. They may be leading in business. They may be leading in nonprofits. They may be on a school board. They may be working in their church. Some of them may run for office. And so we are trying to give them some conservative principles that they can apply in all of those circumstances when they are leading our community forward. And we're starting to see some really great results from that. I think it's important to keep in mind, we've only been doing this for a few years. And so we have 330 people who have completed the program already. The governor's chief of staff is one of those. A couple of attorneys in the governor's office have done the program. Several people that work in the Oklahoma Department of Education have completed the program, and actually completed the program a couple years ago. Then they supported Ryan Walters in his campaign. Then he got elected, and now they're helping manage the Oklahoma Department of Education. One of our Fierce Fellows just won a runoff for a legislative seat in a heavily Republican district. So we fully expect that we're going to have a we're going to have a Fierce Fellow legislator in the next legislative session. So those are the kinds of things we're seeing them do, but we don't deserve a whole lot of credit for that. I mean, occasionally they'll come to us and say, "Oh, you inspired me." We're like, "Yeah, but you were already well on your way."
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a certain type of youth who comes to you wanting to learn more or wanting to learn the truth. I'm just curious. I think I already know the answer to this, but do you have any? I mean, this is probably a politically neutral group. I mean, you don't say, we're only for Republicans, but do you ever see any folks who maybe accidentally become progressive or liberal who stumble upon this program and want to join?
Well, we've had a handful of people that wouldn't identify as conservative. We say the program is for conservatives. And we've had a handful of people who would say that they were open to new ideas or they're listening and who've gone through the program and said that they really enjoyed it. But this program really isn't about trying to take woke kids and turn them into good little conservatives. That would be a very different program.
Yeah.
This one is really about taking young people that lean conservative and giving them a foundation and helping them to understand their place in that.
And we also provide them with a lot of support after they complete the program. Like I said, we have a strong alumni community. We are very often sending job recommendations and job opportunities to the fellows. Dr. Farmer and I are very often references on applications for jobs and things. And we're so happy to do that for the fellows and, watch them go after the career that we knew that they were going to run towards anyway. So it's great to be a resource for them, even after they complete the program.
Yeah, it's like you're creating a team environment there and just a foundational support system, which I'm sure I remember being that age, and it's very scary sometimes to think you're going out into the world, so to speak, looking for your first job. And I think that would be really special to have you both and Fierce Fellowship, the whole program, to support them. I wanted to go back a little bit to the beginning and the foundation of the development of this program. And you mentioned Dr. J. Rufus Fears. And, I highly encourage folks to Google him because not only did he go to Emory and has a PhD from Harvard, but everywhere he taught, he won Professor of the Year multiple times. And his lecture halls were packed with students and overflowing all the time. And he seems to be such a phenomenal storyteller and just not just brilliant, but really great at delivering. I think that's so important with our youth, especially now with media and electronics. I think folks are looking for, a quick hit all the time, so to speak, just with being overloaded with stimuli. And you hear in sales, information tells, but stories sell. And I highly recommend people get online and Google him and watch some of his videos. But what I thought was interesting, he said something, and he said, historical thought is using the lessons of the past to make decisions in the present and to plan for the future. And I thought that was so powerful because I really think that's what you're doing is you're like going to the past, and it's almost like a kid growing up and they don't learn how to tie their shoes, or maybe they don't know how to ride a bike, or, they just miss some foundational things that really would help them as a young adult. And I think that, you're causing folks to think about history and to learn about it accurately, and then use that as if they're going into, and becoming a policy or helping create policy and becoming a legislator. I mean, these are things that they need to know, because that famous saying, history repeats itself. So if you don't know history, and you don't learn from that, how are you going to prevent, some of these bad things that happened? How are you going to prevent them from happening again if you don't even know about it?
So he frequently, he's a history professor, so frequently in his lectures, he'll be talking about some world event that occurred, and he'll talk about the mistakes that were made that led to this war or depression or whatever that happened. And then he'll say, but the reason why this happened is because these leaders hadn't learned the lessons of history. And then he can go back 200 years, 400 years, 1,000 years and say, oh, the same kind of thing happened back there. And if they had learned from that experience, we wouldn't have had this the next time around. And so that's a frequent theme for Dr. Farris, to learn from history.
And what was it exactly that caused you? You said you've been around just for a few years. What year did the program start?
So we actually started in late 2019. We did our first group in 2019 over into 2020. Then we've reformatted it just a little bit. So now we basically do them in the spring and in the fall. But that first one we started in like November and ended in February or something like that. So that was 2019.
Was there anything that caused you all to create it? I mean, was there anything in particular that happened as you saw this gap and this missing element of teaching our youth this truth? Was there something that inspired it, or was it just an idea that developed over time?
I think it's more an idea that developed over time. So OCPA has someone that we work with, Trent England, and Trent had been through a program similar to this many years ago, like when he was in college. Sort of always had it in the back of his mind that we would really like to do this at OCPA sometime. And he had actually even tried it once with kind of like a little pilot project many years ago. And so essentially, Trent had a concept, he had an outline, and they were just kind of looking for the right opportunity to launch it. And they were able to find the support for it to make it happen. And I have a long association with the leadership here at OCPA, and they knew that I was available. And so they just called me up and said, we want to start this thing. We have a concept, we have an outline, we have some resources, and we want you to just go make this happen. And so it was really kind of a thought process that they had been working on for quite some time.
Sure. Do you see any other states doing anything like this? I know I talked to you about our listeners are from all over the nation, and we have some in Australia even. I was just curious if folks are listening today. I mean, how can they find out if their state has something like this, or if they don't have anything, or their country for that matter, if they don't have anything like this? What could they do to start a program? Could they reach out to you all and figure out, learn how you guys do it? Or what would you recommend?
So there are state-based think tanks all over the country, and a handful of them, a few, have programs similar to this, but mostly they're on a different format, and sometimes they're with a different focus. So some of them do something for sitting legislators or for staff in the Capitol, or some of them do it more on the format of like once a month for 10 months or something like that. And so our program is somewhat unique in that respect. And we have had other states call us and say, hey, we're interested in starting something like this. Could you give us your outline? Could you talk to us about how to get it started? And of course, we're always happy to share that kind of information. And so someone would be welcome to reach out to us. Sure.
And so 2 questions for you. So how can people join this program? And then, how long does it last, the program last?
Do you want to take that?
How can someone join? Well, we have a application process that's relatively easy to go through. We have, just a questionnaire, and then we ask that people provide a couple of letters of recommendation. We believe that that's just, a good way to get to know more about that person. And then also it's great practice for young professionals when it comes to applying for opportunities. And so I believe in the long term, it is helpful. That was the first experience I really had to gather recommendation letters before. And so it was, just great in learning how to do that. And then those can all be reached at fiercefellowship.com. And so anyone listening, welcome to go and check that out and apply. Or if you know somebody who would fit the description and you think that they would enjoy it, send it to them. And then, sorry, what was the second part of that question?
How long does it last?
Yeah, so it's every other Saturday for about five Saturdays. So the time commitment is relatively pretty minimal. And it's during semester times for college students. So it's kind of just like adding another class in just every other week. And we do have agreements with some colleges where kids can get college credit for this opportunity. So, and that would definitely make us unique compared to other leadership opportunities like this, because it's just a pretty awesome thing to be able to offer a whole hour of college credit for an opportunity like this. So it really is just a win-win situation.
Yeah, it sure is. Are there tests, Maddison?
The only assignment that's seriously required is a book review that all participants are asked to write. I am a first place book review champion. But we have them read a book called The Conservative Heart by Arthur C. Brooks, and it talks about an approach to conservatism that conservatives typically don't lean to in the first place. We're very good with facts and logic, but when it comes to winning over hearts and minds, the left has just had us beat for a very long time. So it's about how to present the conservative message in an emotional way that really connects with people. And it's a great opportunity to just really equip these kids, adults, whatever, they're all over the place, with the tools that they need to go out and change hearts and minds.
That's great. And, I think that's what it's all about, is understanding the left's ideology, understanding the whole game about capturing vocabulary and how we have the same vocabulary, but different dictionaries, and just understanding that. But I think you're really hitting the nail on the head when it comes to discussing and just not spouting off factual data, but it's kind of an art and a bit of a game. And I think it's really important. I love that you all teach that and address that. So if there is somebody listening today that says, I love this, I don't necessarily, I'm not the right age to go through, or I don't have anybody I could have go through, but I want to connect and support and learn more, how could they connect with the Fierce Fellowship program? And then how could they support if they would like to do so?
Sure. Well, they just send an email to me. So it's rick@ocpathink.org, rick@ocpathink.org, and express their interest. And we'll be happy to get back to them with whatever information that they want.
Okay, that's great. And then is this on social media anywhere where they can follow y'all and learn more that way?
It's pretty in line with OCPA. So if you follow OCPA on social media, you'll see our stuff come up there as well. And there's also a branch, the OCPA website branches to Fierce Fellowship. So it's all right there.
All together. Okay. And then it's fiercefellowship.com, and they can go learn more and learn about the program there.
Yes. And they can also request an application to apply.
From there too. Okay, that's great. Well, is it? I anticipate that you're going to say yes. Is it growing? As it sounds like. Even though it's still maybe in its infant toddler stages, has it been growing pretty much since you started it?
So we've had groups that have ranged from about 15 to, we had one group that was almost 50. And so it kind of goes up and down depending on the year, but Maddison has been a really great recruiter recently. Actually, so when we started, our first recruiters, our best recruiters were friends of OCPA who were telling young people in their sphere, you really should go do this program. But once the program got going, then it was our our alumni, our previous Fierce Fellows who were out telling their friends, I did this program, was really great, and you should do the program too. And so Maddison has been one of those people. She worked in the governor's office for a year or so, and she told several people in the governor's office, oh, you really need to come do this program with me. And we've had similar situations, similar circumstances all around. And that's where we're getting most of our Fierce Fellows now, is from the previous fellows telling their friends.
That's great. And, word of mouth is the best because, you've lived it, you went through it, and you know what you're talking about. Kind of like when you see a good movie like Reagan. I highly recommend. After I saw Reagan, I said, everybody go see that. And I'm not going to make any money off that or whatever. It's just because I saw that and experienced it myself. And so I think that's great. It sounds like y'all are just doing a great job. So Dr. Rick Farmer and Maddison Farris, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for what you're doing. You clearly care about our country and this next generation. And I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And thank y'all so much for listening. As always, you can email us at moms@momsonamission.net. And we'd be so honored if you followed us on Rumble. We're on many streaming platforms, but that one is one of the most uncensored. So if you just download the app and you type in Moms on a Mission at the top and click the follow icon, you'll never miss a show. And then we'd be so honored if you follow us on social media. We are Moms on a Mission 918 on Instagram and Moms on Mission OK on X. So thank you all so much for listening, and God bless. In light of recent bank volatility and skyrocketing inflation, diversification is a must. That's why I use my good friend Andrew Sorcini at Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Beverly Hills Precious Metals makes it so easy to diversify. I personally ordered some silver and it arrived on my doorstep just a few days later. They make it so easy. And if you're not ready to do that and you just want to ask a few questions, they're there for you too. I personally got some silver and also am rolling over some of my IRA. You can actually roll over your IRA and have it be backed by silver and gold. So if you don't have any extra money to invest in silver and gold, rolling over a 401k or an IRA, or even part of it, if you just want to try it at first, just for a little bit, you can do that as well. So go to bh-pm.com today and ask all your questions. You can connect with somebody. And like I said, you can just get some information at first if you want and pray about it, and then get back with them to roll over part of your IRA or all of it, or order some gold and silver. That's bh-pm.com. and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. Hey, everybody. Did you know that recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed? Parasites are actually the cause of many health problems such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health. Moms on a Mission encourages you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all natural detoxification and fights inflammation. And the supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively. I know after I took Full Moon Protocol, I had more energy. To order your Full Moon Protocol today, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. According to leading sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle getting a good night's rest. That's why Moms on a Mission loves MyPillow. MyPillow makes amazing pillows, sheets, mattress toppers, robes, towels, literally almost everything you need for a good night's sleep. They also make dog beds for your dogs. So by going to mypillow.com, typing in the code MISSION, you not only receive a high quality product, but you're supporting Moms on a Mission and this podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you agree with it, you believe in it, and you want to support Moms on a Mission, then go to mypillow.com today and order some high quality products, and just type in the code MISSION at checkout and you can save up to 66% off. That's mypillow.com, code MISSION.
Since 2014, Organic Body Essentials has offered clean, simple, certified organic skincare. Our organic face-to-feet and federally compliant hemp and pet products are manufactured under USDA and FDA guidelines. Our products are inspired by God using plants He created. In Ezekiel 47:12, it says, "The fruit is for food and the leaves for healing." We believe in the power of God to heal, so we pray over our products and for our customers. Our therapy in a bottle approach has been widely received, and our customers' testimonials continue to inspire us. You can find us at organicbodyessentials.com and obe.organicbodyessentials.com. Please feel welcome to reach out with questions. Use coupon code MISSION at checkout for a discount. Thank you for your support by using Mission at checkout to benefit moms on a mission and their quest to reestablish traditional values in our education system and empowerment for a healthy lifestyle.